Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Create VR tutorial series, where you learn by watching other VR and AR professionals create the magic. I'm Marcelo Lewin, a VR and AR developer, evangelist, and the guy behind howtocreatevr.com. My guest today is Adriaan Rijkens, co-founder and CTO of Warp Studio. Adriaan sees VR as the ultimate transportation tool and a unique technology to emotionally connect people to content. Today, Adriaan will give us an overview of Warp Studio, which you can use to quickly create VR experiences. But before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to my channel. It will only take you a second, but it will really help me tremendously so that I can continue providing you these kinds of tutorials on a weekly basis. All right, Adriaan, welcome to our tutorial.
Yes, thank you. Great to be here.
Well, nice to have you here. Today, you're going to be showing us Warp Studio, what it is, how to create a scene in it. But before we do that, maybe you can give us a little background of yourself.
So as you just introduced me, I'm the co-founder CTO of Warp Studio. But before that, I was just somebody who's really enthusiastic about technology. And that got me into computers and programming. And from there, I at some point learned about VR, virtual reality. And that really sparked my interest. Did a lot of developing, hacking projects in the VR space. Started my company called VR Heroes at the time. Still hacking with, that was the DK2. And from there, I met my co-founders with whom I founded the Warp Studio. So I've got like an IT background. So that's also why my role is as the CTO of Warp Studio.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So then you guys both created Warp Studio, or before you joined, was it already pretty much developed?
We just developed it from the ground up. Actually, we all had our own companies. We were all working in kind of the VR space and met each other. And we had this idea on how we could actually transform the way people train, because trainings are really boring and they can be much more immersive, much more fun to do. And that's where we started out doing a pilot with a company to think about how can we do this training differently. And the idea we had is to make 360 video interactive and adding gamification elements to that. So the first kind of projects we did was kind of proof of concepting, and from there we started to develop the Warp Studio.
I see. Well, today you're going to be showing us Warp Studio. Give us a quick overview of what we're going to do today.
Yeah, sure. So what I would like to show you today is the basics on the Warp Studio on how to create a training scenario. So I want to show kind of what's possible. So here's actually a very big scenario. I just want to show a couple of scenes that I create. Also I want to show how you can get a film script out of the Warp Studio, and also show kind of how you can add interactive elements which the trainees will see in their VR environment. So it's kind of there are three things which we can show. That's like the creation part, but also the distribution part. How do you get it to your trainees? Because that's also a challenge in VR sometimes.
Right.
And the third part I can quickly show is the analytics part. So how can you also get the data back?
Sounds great. Let's get going on this one.
Okay, great. Just before I kind of start creating this scenario, I'm really talking about trainings. So the first thing we have to think about is, what do we want a trainee to learn? So for this kind of example, I would like to say, like, let me show you a challenge you can have. Like, as a trainee, you're like a sales trainee. You want to sell something in a store, but sometimes you get like angry customers. So every salesperson needs to know how to handle an angry customer. So in this training, we'll create kind of a training to learn for salespeople to handle angry customers.
Very cool. Actually, Walmart was doing that with Black Fridays. They have training scenarios for that. Yep. So very useful. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's kind of something you can use it for, yes. So let me create this scenario. So as you just seen here in the top right, I just say add scenario, because this is kind of my surrounding where I can add all my training scenarios. So let me just add a scenario. I'll just create a title called customer service, for example. So training on customer service, and you can give a description. This is actually something the trainee will see at a later point in time. So I'd call it learn how to deal with customers. I will not say angry customers, because that's the surprise they will have once they do the training. So you don't want to spoil all the fun. So let me just also add a thumbnail to it. And that's something the trainee will see at a later point in time if I add that thumbnail and save it. And now I dive directly into my training. If I go back to one level up, you'll see I just created here the scenario. So I can dive into it. And from here you see I get this canvas. So this is my drawing board where I can start creating my scenario. As you see, nothing to scene here. We have to create what we call scenes. So I can double click anywhere on the canvas to start creating my first scene. Something I think is important to mention here is that we at Warp really focus helping the 360 filmers or the trainers to create these trainings. So the first step is actually to think of the whole scenario, so to create it before you have the content. So this, what we're going to do, is something you really do without having the 360 video content yet.
So it's almost like storyboarding.
It's really, yeah, exactly. It's like storyboarding. So you can create a storyboard. You can even add images for your storyboard, which you can test at a later point in time. So you can actually click through your storyboard to see if it's a storyboard you like.
So you can almost prototype it first prior to even shooting with your images, and then just replace those with the 360 videos.
Definitely.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And we think that's an added value, because thinking about what you're going to film before you start filming is, of course, something every 360 filmer already does,
or should do,
or maybe should do, yeah. And we provided already the tool for that.
Cool.
So let me just double click somewhere. So here you get a couple of scene types that you can create. I can discuss them all, but I can just show you creating an information scene to show you how that looks like. So here would be kind of an information scene. That's actually a scene where you just get one button you can select, one interactive element. And normally we start a training with either a transition scene that you can just show a video, after which something else happens, or an information scene where it kind of says like, hey, you're in a store, there's a customer, do you want to start, So actually I want to do it differently. Can we do that?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just thinking, because we're going to create a scene, but we will have a store where a customer enters. So our first scene will be that we want to walk towards the customer. So I think a direction scene would be a good idea to create as a first scene, because this is like Google Street View. You get an arrow and you can look at that arrow and go to the customer. So this scene we call like customer entering store. And here I can add a scene description. What's really important to mention is the scene title and the scene description is something the trainee won't see. This is just for us, the creators. The scene description can be very useful for if you want to film, to already write down what you want to be filmed.
And I'm assuming you mentioned at the beginning that you can pull out a script out of this. I'm assuming this all goes towards that script.
Exactly. So this comes into that script. So it could be really useful to add information here. So for now, I'll just add a customer enters the store. The store stands there waiting to be helped, for example. Now I can already add information elements, and that's actually something the trainee will see. So it could be like a customer walks into the store, go and say hello or something, right? Go towards the customer. Could be. And then you could add a label for the direction scene. I will show you later how this looks like when we add the video, but it could be like go to customer, but you could hide this label because you don't necessarily need to show that. I will show you how that looks, but let me just save this, because then you can see I created my first scene. So here you see the title, customer entering store. And what I can also do is I can click this scene. It will turn around and you'll see that the information and the direction will be shown here. I now just have added one direction. So I have just one element that I could connect at a later point in time. Because let me just add another scene to it. And this will all make sense when I show it at a later point in time. So let me add a multiple choice. So let's say you walk towards the customer and you want to ask the customer a question. So ask customer question. And here the customer says nothing. And now I can say like, what would you what would you say to the customer? Hey, you look like you're in a rush, for example. How may I help? Or I could say like, please grab a ticket to be helped. Nobody really likes if you say something like that, but okay. So I add now 2 answers, and I could add as many answers as I would like to. These are just 2 as an example. Let me just save this now. And as you now see, I added now 2 scenes, multiple choice and direction. You see that in the top left, you see what kind of scene it is.
So you're branching here. So depending on what you answer, you're branching to something else.
Exactly, because you can connect this. So let me just add a third scene just to complete this, because then you know kind of scenes. So let's say we want to end with a transition scene where the customer reacts. So this could be what we call an auto transition. No, there are no elements, interactive elements here. So customer reacts, be happy. And we could add a auto transition called customer reacts free. And you could here you could actually add then the description, like what the customer has to say, like the customer will react angry and respond with the following text. So you can add a script here, you know?
Right.
So I've got a couple of scenes now. And let me just add an ending. So what I can do now is I create these separate scenes, but you can connect them to each other. So here I can...
Question about the ending. What's the ending different than all the others? What does the ending do?
Yeah, so the ending, sorry, I might go a little bit quickly through it.
No, that's good.
But the ending is to show that the training ends from there. So after the trainee gave all the answers, you want them to get into a feedback screen. So when I connect this to an ending, so it's kind of a flow. So let me just show you.
Yep.
The trainee could say like, hey, you look like in a rush. How may I help? Then it goes to customer reacts happy, and then goes to an ending. But the thing is, what I could do is I could, for example, say, please grab a ticket to be helped. I could also add scoring to it. So here you can actually add a scoring to it, like 2 penalty points, because this might not be a good question to ask. And here the customer again reacts angry, and you might go to an ending. And these endings are like you get at the end, you get a amount of stars. You see how you did it. So if you get like some penalty points, you might see like good job, although some choices you made could have been better. You can change these texts to anything you like.
I see.
But this is kind of really where the gamification elements comes in.
Right.
Because the trainee really wants to get like 5 stars in the end. So this way you can try it again and try to get into the right path, which is kind of here the 0 points path. But you could also turn this scoring around. Actually, we also got, if it comes to the scoring system, you can also put it to add points. And you could say like, hey, we don't want this. We want to say like, if I ask the right question. So that becomes
a positive versus a negative. Yeah.
This is a positive kind of way. So you get 2 points for this question.
Now, is an ending mandatory, or can you not have an ending? It's just a 360, let's say a virtual tour, for example. Do you need an ending in all scenarios?
In the end, you will need an ending in all kind
scenarios.
Of scenes.
Okay,
of course,
so you always have to end it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Of course, if you just want to show a video and nothing else, the only thing you need to do is add a transition scene and connect it to an ending. Because what will happen is the scenario can start with an auto transition.
Right.
Then it goes to the next part, which is connect to the ending. So it will go to the ending screen.
I see. Okay. Cool.
So if it comes to a scenario, you might want to test it. So let's just do a test here. So if I click start scenario, you'll see the first scene, the direction scene, where you can select go to customer as we created. And from there, you get the multiple choice, like what would you say to the customer, which is like, how may I help, which is a good answer, or please grab a ticket to be helped, which is a bad answer. So you can select that. And so you see it's a bad answer. You get some points taken from you. Then you get into the auto transition scene. And then you get to the ending where you actually also see the feedback you can get. So this way you can kind of test and go through it. Of course, this is quite a small scenario, but once the scenario becomes bigger, it's really a nice way to test it.
Right.
Just as I show maybe in the beginning, like this can be quite a big scenario. Just a little bit how scenarios usually look like. You make them quite quickly, but this way you can quickly test them. So if you're happy about the scenario, kind of the next step would be that you would want to start filming it. Before we do that, I want to show you one functionality, and that's that you can add camera locations to the scenes. So as you see, if I hover over one of these scenes, I can use the three dots here. When I click it, I go to camera location, add new camera location. So here I can say like you're standing like in the middle of the store as the sales representatives. So middle of the store. And then you walk towards the customer, which might be in the front of the store. So let me just add camera location, a new one, front of store.
Oh, and it remembers the location so you can pick it if it's the same one.
Yeah, exactly. So if we say like the auto transition will also be in front of the store, so you can select it again. And this one will also be there in front of the store. So now I added all these locations and I will see them back when I go to the filming part. So I will go there now. And here you will actually see that the two locations have been saved with a couple of scenes in them. And what you can also do is you can decide, does it need to be filmed? Because in some situations you might have got a scene which you filmed that can be used multiple times.
Right.
So I guess in this case we want to film every scene, but you could say like, okay, this is the same scene as ask customer questions.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, so you can use this as your shot list, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also decide kind of which shot you first want to shoot. Sometimes you think like, okay, I would like to begin like this or that as a filmmaker. So you can use these arrows to kind of shuffle this a bit around.
And it puts it by, a couple of things, and just pointing them out because we just went through shooting a big 360 tour, is breaking it down by day would be a great thing because sometimes you do multi-day. So even though you do location, sometimes you have to come back the next day. And then do you guys have a mobile app where you can actually do this in the mobile app? So you said you can add images, right? It would be nice to be able to do this through the mobile app, click the camera, take a picture as you're walking around. So for example, we just did a big shoot of a 360 tour, and we had to walk around everywhere. We did the exactly what you just did here, but we used a mobile app from the App Store, basically. And we shot, we said, okay, we're going to shoot here, took a picture, and then brought it in later, created, the storyboard. But it'd be nice to be able to walk around with this, take a picture with the iPhone. Do you guys offer a mobile app also, or no?
Well, we do not offer a mobile app. It's because we work a lot with 360 filmers, and what we've seen, so we really look like how a lot of the filmers use it in practice, and we've seen they actually really like to kind of print these things out.
Right.
So what you can do is kind of you can export the scenario, and then what I really like to do is sort by camera location, and if I export it, you'll get this PDF, which you can print.
Fantastic. And if you had images, I'm assuming the images would be there.
Yeah, you can see then the images here. So you can actually
This is useful.
Yeah, you can actually add images in your scene. So if I didn't dive into it yet, I will show you later. But if I dive into one of these scenes, I can say like add scene impression.
Got it. And this is something, this doesn't show to the learner. This is mainly for you as the filmmaker.
Exactly. So this is really... and it's something you would see back also in your script, because here all the information you added per scene will be shown. And as a filmmaker, you can just print it and you can just say, check, we've done this, check, we've done that.
Right.
So we haven't got an app because we didn't get a lot of, questions about it. But it could be, if we get a lot of questions about, hey, could you also, create this an app? of course, we can always listen to that and say like, hey, that's maybe a good idea to do, now. But for now, we also see like this is being used a lot. So, yeah.
Excellent. Very cool.
So, basically this is the part, like the preparation, and this you can use for the filming, this part.
This is pre-production, basically.
Yeah, it's all pre-production. Thank you for using the exact right words. But after kind of doing the like post-production as a filmmaker, you want to get your media in here in the Warp Studio. So I would like to show you how you can do that and then connect that media to the scenes.
Perfect.
So as you've seen, we were in the scenarios part, but we also got the media part. As you see, I already kind of added a couple of videos here, but I just wanted to I usually don't want to do this because when I start uploading maybe the link.
Yeah, it'll throw off the internet.
But it goes quite fast.
But we get it, yeah. Question about media. What's the limit on resolution? Can you go 4K or are you limited to HD?
No, definitely, because we're focused on VR. We want to get the most out of VR, so you can definitely go 4K. If you want to, you can even upload like 8K, 12K, because we store it. However, we transcode it to 4K. We do store the originals because we're also already looking at the future, and we might expect at some point, like also devices might be able to use 8K. So it's great if you're already working the Warp Studio that you already got your 8K, for example, videos in there. So at some point we can also support that. So you don't need to re-upload everything.
And the reason you limit it to 4K transcoding is because devices really, like HMDs, don't support anything over 4K anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So our focus with the Warp Studio is really on mobile VR. So we really focus on smartphones, Gear VR, Oculus Go, those kind of VR headsets, because they're very easy to use. They're very available out there. And I guess also for 360 video, it's kind of the most interesting kind of platform for 360 video. So let's just go back to the scenario and connect some media to it so you get an idea how that looks like. So as I just showed earlier, you can also dive into a scene using the eye view. You can also go to your scenes where you get a list. Let me just do it like with the eye. I always like to do it this way because I know exactly towards which scene I go. So let me start at the beginning. So here I dive into my scene. So I get all the information we added earlier, also the filming location. But what we didn't add, of course, was the 360 media. So let me start with adding the store entry media. So here I see all the media I uploaded previously. So I start with the store entry. And as you see now, we get the video, which is of course in 360 format. So it's of course, it will be known, this format, like X-rectangular, as you would call it. And you get the images, the interactive elements that you can place somewhere. So in this scene, a customer walks into the store, and what you would like to happen is the elements should show once the customer is in the store. So if I would play now this scene, kind of the customer would enter, but the elements are already in the scene. So I want to see where once the customer is in the store, I want to show the elements. So I just drag and drop when the information needs to fade in. So they will be around here. And next to that, we like to work with Warp Studio. We like to work with loops. So we like to kind of always film a bit after kind of something happened. So the viewer has got the feeling that he's in control of what's happening. So the video doesn't stop. It just kind of continues to go. But once the video, there's always an end to a video. We put a loop in it. So it looks like nothing's happening. So it will loop from the moment where you choose.
Oh, I see. That's the what you moved is the end point of where the loop will begin.
So that's this part.
Right.
So if you start, you will now not see the elements. And then once the customer entered the store, the elements will appear. And then the loop will start from here.
And to activate these elements in the HMD or the browser, it's gazing or clicking?
Yeah, so we support on Oculus Go the controller, Oculus Go Gear VR, so you can just point at these elements, these red elements, and click. But for example, the cardboard, you can use gaze input, or you can also, if you've got a smartphone and haven't got a cardboard, you can use 360 view, and you can just use your finger to select the element.
I see. And you said for the Oculus Go, you support clicking, or is it gazing through the Go?
It's clicking, so we support the controller.
Oh, very cool. So you support the controller.
Yeah, we think that's very convenient. And
yeah, definitely.
We only focus on input devices that are widely available. So
right. So the gazing marker would not show on the Oculus Go?
No.
Okay, makes sense.
So we also look like what's easier for the end user. Also, if it comes to these elements, here I'm actually selected the question like a customer walks into the store, go towards the customer. What I can do is I can determine where this element is, but what I can also do is select show information in look direction. So if I select that, of course in VR somebody can look at any place, location, also in 360 of course. So the moment that this interactive element will appear, this part will show in front of the view direction of the user.
So that means if I'm looking behind, right, I'm looking towards the wall, let's say, not towards the customer, I'll see that box, but the arrow will still be where I placed it.
Yeah, exactly. But you know that there's something expected from you.
Yeah. So I can say, look at the customer, turn around if you can't see him or something like that. Yeah.
So for now, I would like to kind of just jump into kind of also on how to publish, just to save some time.
Sure. So, yeah, definitely.
So I just add some random kind of media elements. As you see, actually, I've got some icons showing me like, did I add media or not? So I'm just going to add some elements to them. And of course, at a later point in time, if you're interested, you can, of course, click yourself through this and try it out. So I just added all these elements. And let's just say I've got this kind of scenario. I'm really happy about it. I want to publish it.
I see here in the workflow that now you have those icons, the video, so you can quickly see here if you attached a video or not yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So and actually when you select publish in the top right, you'll see kind of how the thumbnail will look in VR. So you get this with customer service, with an explanation. This is what the user will see. If I go to next step, you also see some checks, which actually help you to see if your scenario is correct.
Like QA.
Yeah, like are there any missing links? Did you forget to add any videos? This is of course a small scene, but you could have quite a big scene and maybe forget something. So you'll get a notification here. Once you're happy, so once this is okay, you just go to next step. And now you can decide the scenario access. So you can actually already say like, I want to share this with all the managers that are the people who are in the Warp Studio, or you can already share it with what we call trainees, so all the users, which you already added. But usually when I, for the first time, publish something, I just publish it to myself to check if I'm happy about it.
Right, to test it, yeah.
So I will publish it. So now you see that the publishing starts, which is always a good moment, and an exciting moment. And as you see now here, the scenario is in publishing state.
Right. Will you get an email as the creator when it's done?
You'll get an email, so you don't have to wait here. Of course, if you're very impatient and very excited to start testing, you can maybe refresh it, and you see actually this is a very small scenario, so it goes very fast. You see it's already published. But I will also get an email saying that it's been published.
I see.
So what I would like to do now, for example, is I would like to add some users to it. Because in the app, you have to log in. So this way, you can decide what a user gets to see. So in the trainees section, you can do that. So I could add a user. So this could be like a test user, just a fictitious user. And you could already discuss, like, you can already say, like, okay, you're allowed to see this training, like customer service. And this trainee will get a temporary password sent to him or her, also via email. And this will only happen once you attach a scenario to that trainee. So you see the test user here. So after that, just to show you, you might also want to see the analytics. So users start using your scenario. Here I already have got an example of myself, doing a scenario. So here you will see the duration, like how long I took. So you have a list on all my attempts. So here you see the duration of my only attempt here. You see how many scenes I selected, what my answers were, the amount of time I spent per scene.
So if you have multiple training courses attached to you on the left, you will see them all there.
Yeah, exactly. And also for our customers, they actually also like the export function, so they can create kind of any slice and dice overview.
Right, manipulate it.
Yeah, they can import this, like it's a CSV file, so you can import it to any business intelligence tool like Excel pages or ClickView or whatever you want to use to create meaningful insights.
Sure. We're almost out of time. I do want to see how this looks. Obviously, we're going to preview it on the browser here, but I'm assuming you can preview it on the Oculus Go and all the other HMDs.
Yeah, exactly. Because it works with an app. So the app is in the Play Store, the Apple Store, or the Oculus Store. From there, once you downloaded the app, you can log in and see your scenario. So this is the way you can test it.
I see. Can you test it in the browser itself?
Currently, we do not support that. So
you don't support it. Are you going to support that?
We do see an added value of supporting that in the browser. So we might support it in the future.
Yeah, I think it's important from the reason of a responsive design. So that way, for those that don't have, let's say, a mobile device or don't want to install the app, to be able to put it on the desktop or just through the browser on an iPad, let's say, would be a great thing.
Yeah, sure. That's something we recognize. That's something we've also heard from our customers. So that could be definitely something we will look into the future. But we do also see it's very easy to just have an accompanying device like your smartphone to use it. And actually what's also good to note is you can also play it offline. So you just download the training. So you just see it in your app, you download it, and you can also keep on playing it. So I think that's also the added value, that we're not really focused on streaming, but we really want the experience to be as high as possible. So you just ask also about us supporting 4K. I think why we can really support this interactive 360 video with 4K is because we decided not to stream, but really to make it necessary to download the experience, which creates really high quality interactive experience.
A couple of quick questions before we're going to have to go is when you have it offline and you're playing it, are you still tracking analytics for offline? And then once you connect back, does it upload all those analytics? Yeah,
sure. It stores it. So it's being cached. And once you reconnect to the internet, it will be sent.
It'll be sent. So you're tracking everything. So you always know what, perfect. Yeah. And then for actually viewing it, they have to download the Warp Studio app. I'm assuming that's, like you said, available everywhere. And then once they log in, they will see, based on their username, they will see what's been assigned to them.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. Do you have the ability to make a scene public so it's available to anybody?
So we do support, like at the moment, public campaigns, but that's like then people have to create a unique app, which is
more like a white label.
White label. So we do support that at the moment. Currently, we do not support it. You can just say like, this is the URL. Here you can see the training. But that is something we're also really working on. So we see it in the future as something we will also provide.
I see. That makes sense. Well, Adrian, unfortunately, we're completely out of time. This was really great. Thank you for giving us the overview. I was really impressed with the, specifically because I just finished a project with the whole workflow where you create it and add your shots, your location. I really like that. That was pretty cool. So thank you for giving us an overview.
Thank you for having interest in what we're doing. So maybe you can use our tool in the next project.
Definitely, we'll look into it. And if people want to learn more, where do you want them to go? Warp.studios, or do you have another URL? Do you want to give them your email?
No, you can go to the warp.studio, and in the top right, you can, if you're interested, you can sign up. We're in an open beta, so you can just sign up and create an account and just start VR. Currently, you've got then a free possibility to freely use our software to check it out if it's something for you.
I see. Without getting into specifics of pricing, because pricing changes all the time, depending when they watch this, but the business model is what? Are you charging per user? Are you charging per view? How are you doing this?
It's a licensing model, and it's more based on scenarios. We don't want to put a cap on users or views. We want as much as people to see it, but it's more on the amount of scenarios.
I see. So you would buy a package with, and I'm making this up, but with 5 scenarios, or a package with 10 scenarios. So basically something like that.
Yeah, and you can, of course, if you need more, you can
just add
buy
more.
A scenario.
Right.
You can just add scenarios to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Makes sense. Well, Adrian, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks to everybody else that's been watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to my channel. It will only take you a second, but it would really help me tremendously so that I can continue providing you these kinds of tutorials on a weekly basis. If you are ever in the Southern California area, we have a monthly meetup with lots of great VR and AR presentations. You can join or RSVP for our next meetup at howtocreatevr.com/meetup. Finally, if you are interested in learning more about how to create VR, AR, and MR experiences, please visit howtocreatevr.com. So until the next episode, I'm Marcelo Lewin. Cheers, everyone.